There is a point where you stop asking whether Claude Code is smart enough and start asking whether your repository is giving it the right information. Because here's something that becomes painfully obvious after using Claude Code for a while. The same model can feel brilliant in one repository and surprisingly mediocre in another. Same Claude, same developer, same task, different repository, and the difference is often not the prompt. It's the environment. Most developers approach Claude Code like this. Open the terminal. Write a very detailed prompt. Explain the architecture. Explain the coding conventions. Explain how tests work. Explain which command to run. Explain what not to touch. Then, 3 days later, you do the exact same thing again. That's not really an AI problem. That's an engineering problem. Today we're going to turn a repository into something much more interesting. A project environment where Claude already knows how this particular engineering team works, and we're going to build it from almost nothing. Think about Claude Code as an engineer joining an existing team. There are 5 different things you can give that engineer. First, permanent context. What does this project do? What conventions matter? What commands should be used? That's CLAUDE.md. Second, conditional knowledge. What should Claude know when it works specifically on billing code, database migrations, or the front end? That's where rules become useful. Third, reusable workflows. How do we perform a release? How do we review a pull request? How do we debug a production incident? That's a skill. Fourth, deterministic automation. Run a formatter after an edit. Block a dangerous command. Trigger a scanner. That's a hook. And fifth, external capabilities. Talk to GitHub. Query a database. Read another service. Interact with an external system. That's where MCP comes in. This distinction is probably the most important thing in this entire episode, because once you understand it, you stop putting everything into Claude.md, and that is exactly where many Claude Code setups go wrong. Let's start with the famous file, Claude.md. Claude Code reads project instructions at the beginning of a session. You can place the project instructions in the repository root as Claude.md, or use .claude/claude.md. The point isn't the file name itself. The point is persistent project context. The official guidance is refreshingly simple. Put in the things you would otherwise have to explain again. For example, you might tell Claude that the project uses Next.js, TypeScript, Postgres, Prisma, and PNPM. You might tell it that PNPM dev starts the development server, PNPM test runs unit tests, PNPM test E2E runs end-to-end tests, and PNPM lint runs linting. You might explain that the front end lives in one directory, back-end logic in another, and database access belongs behind a specific server layer. You might say to use TypeScript strict mode, prefer existing utilities, validate external input at API boundaries, and add tests when changing business logic. And finally, you might tell Claude to run relevant tests and linting before finishing. That's useful. Notice what isn't here. A 400-line explanation of TypeScript, the complete Prisma documentation, a tutorial on React, the entire API specification. Claude already has access to the repository and can inspect those things when necessary. CLAUDE.md should answer one question. What is special about this project? Here's the trap. You tell Claude, remember this. Claude writes it into Claude.md. Then another thing happens. Remember this too. Another 20 lines. Then another correction. Then another workflow. Then another API detail. And eventually your Claude.md becomes a software archaeology project. Current official guidance explicitly warns about this. Claude.md is loaded into every request. That means unnecessary information isn't free. And more importantly, a giant instruction file creates competition between instructions. The goal isn't maximum instructions. The goal is maximum useful signal. There's a beautiful community pattern here. Developers who initially grew huge Claude.md files often end up making them smaller. One developer on X described cutting their file from 107 lines to 69 after realizing that many instructions didn't need to be loaded every time. That's the direction you want. Not how much can I put into Claude.md, but what deserves to be present every single time Claude works on this project. Here's a practical rule. If something is universally relevant to the repository, put it in Claude.md. Use PNPM, not NPM. Run this test command. This directory owns database access. Never bypass this validation layer. This architectural constraint exists for this reason. But if something only applies to a particular part of the repository, don't automatically put it in the root instructions. That's where rules become interesting. Rules let you split instructions into smaller pieces, and importantly, they can be path scoped. Imagine a monorepo. You have front-end code, back-end code, and database code. The front end has React-specific conventions. The back end has API conventions. The database layer has migration rules. Putting all of that into the root Claude.md means Claude receives all of it all the time. Instead, you can create a rule specifically for the front end. For example, you could say that files under the front-end directory should keep server-side data access outside client components, prefer existing feature components, use shared form components, and add component tests for non-trivial interactions. Then you can create another rule specifically for the database directory. Never modify an existing migration. Create a new migration for schema changes. Check indexes when adding frequently queried fields. Never expose database models directly through API responses. Now, Claude doesn't have to carry the entire company's rulebook into every room. It gets the relevant rules when it enters that part of the codebase. That's a much better architecture. Now let's open the .claude directory. This is where Claude Code's project-specific customization starts becoming an actual engineering system. But there's an important nuance. Not every item you might see is a mandatory folder. You add components as your project needs them. The most important ones are Claude.md, rules, skills, agents, and Settings.json. Hooks are configured through settings, although the scripts they execute can absolutely live inside a .claude/hooks directory. An MCP project configuration is generally represented separately through .mcp.json. So don't think of .claude as a magical folder where every Claude-related file must live. Think of it as the project's customization surface. Now, settings are not instructions. This distinction is subtle but extremely important. Claude.md tells Claude how to behave. Settings.json configures what Claude Code is allowed to do and how it operates. For example, a project settings file might allow commands such as pnpm-test, pnpm-lint, and pnpm-build. It might also deny reads of .env files, secret directories, and credential files. Now we have something stronger than a sentence saying, please don't read .env. We've created an actual permission rule. This is the difference between instruction and control surface. Claude Code supports allow, ask, and deny rules, and deny rules take precedence. That means security-sensitive restrictions should not depend only on Claude remembering a sentence. If something genuinely must not happen, use the mechanism designed to enforce it. Now imagine you're working on a team. Some settings belong to everyone. Some belong only to you. Claude Code has different scopes for this. Your global configuration lives under your home directory's .claude folder. On Windows, that's your user profile.claude. Project settings live in .claude/settings.json. And personal project-specific settings live in .claude/settings.local.json. The shared settings file can be committed to Git. The local one is intended for machine-specific or personal configuration and is Git ignored. This gives you a clean distinction. The repository says, these are our engineering defaults. Your machine says, these are my local preferences. And an organization can go even further with managed settings that users cannot override. That's not just convenience, that's governance. Now here's another source of confusion. People often say, Claude remembers my project, but there are actually different mechanisms involved. Claude.md is the instruction layer. You write, always use pnpm, never edit migrations, run these tests. Auto memory is different. Claude can accumulate useful learnings from working with the repository. Things like, this test requires Redis. This particular build failure happens because of this issue. This repository uses this unusual workflow. Auto memory is machine local and stored separately from your Git-tracked project instructions. So don't turn memory into a dumping ground either. The distinction is beautiful. Claude.md contains what you intentionally want Claude to know. Memory contains what Claude has learned while working. Now suppose your deployment process has 12 steps. Should those 12 steps go into Claude.md? Usually no, because that's not really persistent context. That's a workflow, and workflows are exactly what skills are for. For example, you could create a release skill. Its instructions might say, check Git status, run the test suite, run the production build, review the changelog, check the version, show the final diff, and do not deploy unless explicitly requested. Now Claude can load this workflow when it matters. You can invoke it directly with /release. And because skills can contain supporting files, they can grow into complete reusable workflows without turning your always loaded Claude.md into a monster. The official guidance describes skills as reusable knowledge and workflows. That gives us a very useful design rule. Facts that are always relevant go in Claude.md. Procedures that are occasionally relevant become skills. And then there are hooks. This is where the architecture becomes much more interesting. Suppose you say, Claude, please run prettier after editing files. That's an instruction. Claude can forget it. You create a skill saying, whenever I ask for formatting, run prettier, better. But if you want formatting to happen automatically after every edit, you don't need Claude to reason about it. You need a hook. A post-tool use hook can match edit and write operations and run your formatting command. The hook fires after matching tool calls. That is deterministic automation. This gives us perhaps the cleanest distinction in the entire episode. If Claude needs to think about it, use an instruction or skill. If it must happen every time, use a hook. Now let's put all of this together. Imagine a realistic repository. At the root, we have Claude.md. Inside .claude, we have Settings.json. Then rules for front-end and database code, skills for review and release workflows, agents for specialized isolated work, and scripts that hooks can execute. This is the kind of environment I would actually start with. Not 50 files, not hundreds of instructions, just enough structure to remove repetition and encode important engineering decisions. The root Claude.md handles the project identity. Rules handle specialized areas. Skills handle repeatable workflows. Agents handle isolated specialized work. Settings handle configuration and permissions. Hooks handle deterministic automation. And external integrations belong to MCP. Every piece has a job. Now let's look at the before and after. Imagine asking Claude to implement password reset in an unconfigured repository. Your prompt might look like this. Add password reset. Use the existing API architecture. Don't access Prisma directly from the UI. Use the existing email service. Add tests. Run pnpm test. Don't modify migrations. Follow our error response format. You can give Claude all of this information, and maybe it does a great job, but you just became the configuration file every time. Now watch what happens after we engineer the environment. The prompt can become almost boring. Implement password reset. That's it. Because the repository carries the institutional knowledge. Claude already knows the test command. It already knows where authentication lives. It already knows database access belongs behind the server layer. It already knows migrations are immutable. It already knows the relevant conventions. And if password reset requires the email workflow, Claude can use the relevant skill. The prompt got shorter. But the engineering environment got smarter. That's the real upgrade. Let's make this brutally practical. Don't put generic language knowledge into Claude.md. Don't paste entire API documentation into it. Don't write a 12-step deployment manual into it just because deployment exists. Don't tell Claude things it can trivially discover by reading the repository. Don't continuously append every temporary discovery. And don't treat Claude.md like a diary. Instead, ask one question. Does every task need this? If yes, keep it. If only certain files need it, make it a rule. If it's a reusable workflow, make it a skill. If it must happen automatically, make it a hook. If it requires an external system, use MCP. If it needs isolated investigation, consider an agent or subagent. That one decision tree prevents most configuration sprawl. And this is where I think Claude Code becomes fundamentally different from ordinary chatbot usage. The obvious thing to optimize is the prompt. The less obvious thing is the environment surrounding the prompt. Think about a human engineer. You don't onboard them by sending a massive paragraph before every task. You give them a repository, documentation, architecture, tests, tooling, permissions, processes, and conventions. Then you say, implement this feature. Claude Code can work surprisingly well with the same philosophy. The repository becomes part of the interface, your configuration becomes part of the engineering process, and your repeated corrections become candidates for automation. That is why experienced Claude Code users increasingly talk about things like skills, hooks, rules, and project memory. They're not just collecting prompt tricks, they're designing a system around the model. And here's the workflow I want you to steal. Don't try to predict every instruction on day one. Start small. Use Claude. When Claude makes a mistake, correct it. Then ask, will this mistake happen again? If the answer is no, move on. If the answer is yes, encode the lesson. Maybe it's a project-wide convention. Put it in Claude.md. Maybe it only applies to database files. Make it a rule. Maybe you had to explain the same workflow 3 times. Make it a skill. Maybe the action should happen regardless of what Claude thinks. Make it a hook. That means your Claude Code environment evolves from real engineering failures. not from imaginary configuration. So let's come back to the original question. How do you configure a repository so Claude consistently behaves like a useful member of the engineering team? Not by writing the world's longest CLAUDE.md, and definitely not by becoming better at repeating yourself. You build layers. CLAUDE.md for persistent project knowledge, rules for contextual knowledge, skills for reusable workflows, settings for configuration and permissions, hooks for deterministic automation, MCP for external capabilities, memory for accumulated machine local learnings, and agents when work needs isolation or specialization. The goal isn't to make Claude memorize everything. The goal is to make the right information appear at the right time and make the right actions happen at the right layer. That's the difference between configuring an AI assistant and engineering an AI development environment. And once you make that shift, something interesting happens. Your prompts get shorter, your corrections become reusable, your repository becomes more self-describing, and Claude stops feeling like a stranger you have to brief every morning. It starts feeling like an engineer who has been on the project for a while. That's the real power of Claude.md. Not that it's a magic file, but that it is the beginning of turning a repository into an environment an agent can actually work inside. In the next episode, we'll go one level deeper, because knowing that skills exist is one thing. Designing a skill that Claude actually discovers at the right moment, does the right work, and doesn't waste your context is a completely different engineering problem. For now, open one of your repositories. Find the 3 things you repeatedly explain to Claude. Don't add all 3 blindly. Ask where each one belongs. That question is the beginning of agent engineering. Thank you guys for watching Dots and Arrow. Support us by subscribing to our new channel for more related contents.